The attacks on Zack Polanski are getting sillier by the day. A week before the local elections, the media went into overdrive to stop a Green Party surge. Well, the media stories attacking Zack obviously won't be stopping anytime soon. Now, this one is a real doozy. Taxing times. Zack Polanski staying at £2 million house after admitting to underpaying council tax for 3 years in latest blunder. Now, we'll get into the council tax stuff in a minute. But multiple outlets, including The Sun, LBC, and The Times, have reported on a £2 million house that Zack lives in. It has been revealed that Polanski is staying at the 5-bedroom property in the East London borough with Alistair Binney Lubbock, 40, according to The Times. Binney Lubbock is the leader of the Greens on Hackney Council and grandson of the late Liberal Democrat peer Lord Avebury. When asked whether Polanski lived at the Hackney property, a woman there initially denied, but then told The Times, sorry, yes, Zack does live here. Now, you'd think the media would be more imaginative than to recycle old Jeremy Corbyn attacks. Remember this? Corbyn shamed as details of £1 million neighbourhood revealed. Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has been left red-faced after it was revealed his supposedly modest Islington home is in fact worth nearly £1 million. But this is the house Corbyn lives in. This is the £1 million mansion, right? A tiny house in London. But what makes the story against Zack even more ridiculous is that he doesn't own the house, he's renting. No, he doesn't own a £2 million house. He's renting a room, right? 5 bedrooms. He's renting with other people. I think him and his partner and other people, because he presumably can't afford a house. And it's also in Hackney. It's in Hackney, a very, admitted gentrified area. But London is very expensive. Have you not realised there's a housing crisis? Of course, the right-wing press won't ask questions about the ridiculous cost of housing. Kevin, even if Zack Polanski did own a house worth £2 million, would that really matter?
No, this story doesn't matter. This story doesn't matter in the slightest. I don't care about it. Zack Polanski, please stop apologising for things. You need to purge the inner Lib Dem within you, sir. Please, I beg of you. Stop apologising for stuff. People who want you to apologise aren't interested in apologies. It's bad faith actors acting in bad faith. Stop giving in to them, okay? I, on a personal, individual level, think he should have paid the tax on this houseboat. But it does appear that the houseboat situation is one of lack of enforcement. I believe this council had, over the course of the last 30 years, had one houseboat ever pay any council tax. They're not enforcing it, so he didn't pay it. Okay, is that particularly great? Not necessarily. He should have paid his tax. Everyone else has to pay their tax. But I don't really give a fuck. And no one else does, really, either. Oh, sorry. In terms of the house, he doesn't own the house. He lives there with other people. It's in the middle of London. He represents a London seat, a London constituency, right in the London Assembly. He has to live in London. London is one of the most expensive cities in Europe to live in. The idea that you could live in any kind of multiple occupancy house which would cost less than £1 million is basically impossible. It would have to be literally a matchbox to cost less than £1 million. So he doesn't own £1 million or £2 million house. He rents one with 3 other people, I think it is. This is a non-story.
It's crazy stuff. Look, okay, so the right wing press have always hit the left with the hypocritical angle, which is that if you're someone who's relatively wealthy, or to be honest, not even wealthy, but has something, right, has a house that's worth a lot of money, apparently you can't espouse left-wing politics. So if Zack Polanski turns out that he's quite rich, that means he can't call for wealth taxes. That's crazy to me, because surely, first of all, that doesn't change the nature of the policy, but that means he would be calling on himself to be taxed more, which makes him more principled.
Yeah, it's the kind of shell game that the right-wing play, where the left can't win. Where if you're poor and espouse left-wing beliefs, it's because you're jealous of the rich. And if you're rich and you espouse left-wing beliefs, you're a hypocrite. Neither of these things is actually true. I'm all in favour of rich people acting in favour of the left. Some of the greatest people who have been on the left have been upper class traitors. People
Tony
like Tony
Benn.
Benn or fucking Clement Attlee or whoever were upper class or upper middle class peoples who turned against their own class interests for the benefit of the British people. Literally, Tony Benn, of course, had to give up his lordship upon his father's passing. That's how part of the establishment
Mm.
he was, and said "fuck that" to that noise, and is a hero on the British left, of course, and rightly so. So yeah, I don't care particularly. This story is just such a non-entity. And again, we said this when Zohran Mamdani was elected in New York, and I think we'll say the same with Zach Polanski. The fact that they're having to go after these basically non-stories like Hypnoboob or Riverboat Gate or whatever shows that they're actually pretty decent people. Because if there was any actual dirt there, they'd be going after it, and they aren't. The muckrakers are able to come up with very little against these people. In a time when we have the best friend of Jeffrey Epstein being appointed to the House of Lords, but also to being the consular to in the United States of America. Not the
You mean
first and
Mandelson, right?
Mandelson, indeed, yeah. Not the only nonce who was offered a consularship
True, true.
under the current government. When we have them being given huge amounts of freebies. When you have the potential future Prime Minister Nigel Farage, and it makes my skin crawl to have to admit that, but politically that is the case right now, being given £5 million by a crypto bro, who then changes his policies to be in favour of the crypto bros. The level of corruption and malfeasance at the heart of British politics is so ridiculous that the idea that I should give a fuck about Hypnoboob or fucking the houseboat, get fucked. Get your priorities sorted. It's because he's on the left and he opposes genocide that means that he's just not one of the sensible adults in the room, and therefore he's absolutely fair game.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think it feels like the scandal of the £5 million of Nigel Farage is less prominent in the media than this council tax, right? Which
Yeah,
we're gonna
exactly. Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna speak about in a second. But yeah, I absolutely do not care if the left wing leader of our time is extremely rich, as long as he's a class traitor. But what
Yeah.
this is woke right identity politics, isn't it? It's like, well, you can't be
Yeah.
left wing because you've got to be poor. And the thing is, though, as soon as you're working class, you got GB News and Talk TV saying stuff like you're stupid.
Well,
Like
exactly.
the
Look,
way that, again, what we said about Angela Rayner,
what do
she is worthy of so many criticism, but a lot of it is like, oh, she likes getting pissed and going to nightclubs, and she dressed like shit in her accent. Stop being fucking
what
classist.
Well, like, what do they want him to do? He lives in London. He has to. He represents a seat in London. Do you want him to live on a park bench? Because that's the only way you get under £1 million. Like, it's any actual residence you could actually live in London is going to cost a fortune. Like, and it's so absurd to do this. Like, someone made the joke, and I think it's a very pertinent one, that the average carriage on a London Underground tube train costs £1.6 million. So technically, Zack Polanski takes a £1.6 million vehicle to work every day. What a hypocrite!
Hypocrites.